I knew very little about Star Trek. I wasn't a Star Trek watcher. I didn't really watch much television. I had visited, I'd come to know Jerry Goldsmith. I'd come to know John Williams. I had come to know the art of scoring and putting music against picture and the mathematics. The big film of the year that I visited was Star Trek I. And I went to quite a few of those sessions because I was curious what Jerry would do. And he invited me to the sessions and I hung out a lot. And that was sort of a big event for me to see that being conducted and that being put together. When I got hired by Nicholas Meyer, we had a couple of interviews and we liked each other, and told me what his ideas were, which were very literary, very seafaring in his mind. The producer, Harv Bennett, would have probably been more comfortable had I reused material from the television show, but I chose not to do that, and Nick backed me up on that decision. They didn't want to repeat the theme of Star Trek I, they wanted a new theme. Nick wanted it to be seafaring, as I told you, so they didn't want to reuse or reference anything of Star Trek I. That was history now. So we had to come up with a new theme, and it had to be very musical and had to be memorable. I believe that you had to have 2, maybe maximum 3 themes that an audience could keep track of. And then it was important that 3 themes be your principal themes, and then have maybe a motif or 2 that were very short but narrated other things. And themes tended to be long melodies, and the motifs could be short blasts of things. Khan didn't have a long theme. Khan had a high sort of warlike thing that I did in the high French horns, which was da 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 da, and it's very short, and it's accompanied with this sort of percussion sort of figure. But it helps you know right away that that's Khan's music, and it's very short and distinctive. And that plays against the theme of the Enterprise, which is a long melodic thing. I wanted it to be really something that was strong and warlike, and to me, the high horns, in terms of color, did that. Not the trumpets, but in terms of sheer power, I think it was 8 French horns did that. It was something that I could play that was a short blast of power. It wasn't really a theme, it was just sort of a motif for Khan. And then I could do that, and then when you cut back to Kirk, you could have Kirk's theme very simply dun 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 bum dun, and it was that motif, and then you could cut away to so that these chases could be very easily theme driven, because there was a lot of battle music, and it was incessant, and I had to find a way to musically say who was what and what was who and who was damaged, who was not damaged, and that helped a great deal knowing how the battle was going. And I think that is really, really important when you are having long battle sequences. Otherwise, it's just action music.
Fire. Fire.
One of my absolute favorite sequences of Star Trek was seeing it in dry dock. I just thought that was unbelievable. And the whole leaving dry dock for the first time. And I had to write a really long sequence to narrate that. And I had to make it perfect because I thought the sequence was perfect visually. The music works in a very special way. I wanted to be as ship-like and as old-fashioned as it could be, and as majestic as it could be. It's not so much the music that I'm proud of, it's the whole sequence when you watch it. And I always believe that you shouldn't be aware of the music. What I'm proud of is the marriage, that you're just in awe of the sequence, and it's the visuals and the music working together that make that moment dramatically, that whole long 12-minute sequence of pulling out of dry dock. And it's just such a terrific sequence. I'm always looking for the core story, and that's what I narrate. The stuff on the top takes care of itself, and yes, I have to address it, but the stuff underneath is what the story is really about. I wanted to make much more of Spock than had ever been done before, and that unique undercurrent of Spock and the captain, Jim. That was a relationship that had never played in anybody's approach. It had played, I guess, in some of the series, I was told, but never really. I wanted to make that bond very tight. And as it turned out, that was really important because there was a Star Trek 3, and that bond ended up being the whole thing of Star Trek 3. I wanted to tell the story of two men and their friendship. And that's what I gleaned out of the series and out of the first movie. So the closer I could play that bond during the movie, the more I could make of that bond separation when Spock dies, the more I could break the audience's heart at the end of the movie. Seeds I was sowing in Star Trek II were now going to be able to bloom and work in Star Trek III. And that was very important, and that was all part of sort of the work, how it was all going to be woven together.
I have been, and always shall be, your friend. Live long and prosper.